Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing a get ready with me with some new Sephora makeup. I decided to do this nice fall look. I hope you like it. Give me a second and we'll zoom in a little closer and I'll show you how I got this fall look using these new Sephora products and we'll see what you think. All right, you guys, now that I've brought you in a little closer, I got my skincare on, so I'm all ready to go. So like I said, we're gonna be doing a fall get ready with me look using some new makeup from Sephora. I tried to keep it all Sephora. I don't have new products for every category, but I wanted to highlight some of the new products that have come out that I was interested in. A few of them I have been playing with a little bit, and there's one or two that this is the first time I'm using. So we're gonna discover them together and see whether they're worth your money. So we're gonna start with face primer. I do not have a new face primer to show you, so I just grabbed one of my favorites. This is from Hourglass. This is their Mineral Veil Primer. I love this primer. This is one of my favorite primers. Basically, it's not necessarily pore filling per se, but what I love about it is it makes my makeup go on really smooth. It definitely helps it to last longer throughout the day, and it doesn't clog my pores like a lot of primers do. So this is a very, very good primer for me. I know it's pricey. I cry when I run out of it, but it's just so good. I like drugstore primers as well, but I love this. I always have to have it in my collection. The first new product we're gonna use today is from Milk Makeup. I was very intrigued when I saw this come into the What's New for Sephora. This is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Eye and Concealer Primer. So a lot of people absolutely love their Hydro Grip Face Primer. I don't. It's not that it's not a good primer. It actually is a very good primer. My problem with it is that it is really sticky, and for me it's kind of a texture thing, and the stickiness doesn't go away and it bugs me on my face for the day. So even though my makeup stays on longer, that stickiness is tough for me to deal with. This is a me thing, not a product thing. It's a texture thing. It's just, you know, it's a sensory texture thing. So we're gonna try this out. I'm a little intrigued by the fact that this is a concealer primer. I'm a little worried what that's gonna do to the concealer in regards to, is it gonna increase crepiness? Is it gonna increase dryness? Like what? I'm just not sure. I never know with products like this idea that if it's gonna work on 40-year-old or up skin. So I figured what I would do, I'm gonna use this as my eyeshadow primer. I have high hopes for that. And then I think I'm just gonna put it under one of my eyes for it to see if it as a concealer primer, kind of to see what that's all about. But I figure since I'm also using a newer concealer, I wanna be able to compare and contrast. So we're just gonna put a little bit on my eyes. I absolutely believe in eyeshadow primer. I have oily lids, and so eyeshadow primer is absolutely a must for me. I have my favorites. I love the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I also love the Milani eyeshadow primer. Both of those are just top notch. I kind of want to try the NARS and the Smashbox because those are two I have not tried, but I've heard great things about them. And I find that if I do not wear eyeshadow primer, then my eyeshadow just absolutely creases and it does not stay on. Where if I wear it, then it stays on all day. Like all my makeup can literally fall off, but my eyeshadow is still on. So I definitely feel strongly about that. Okay, so here's my eye with this as a concealer primer. We'll see how that works out. So far, I mean, it feels good. It's a little tacky, but it dried down really, really fast. I don't mind tackiness on my eyelids, just weird on my face. So we'll see how that works throughout the day. And then we're gonna move on to foundation. I do not have a new foundation to show, so I just picked one of my favorites. I am grabbing for the Estee Lauder Futurist Hydra Rescue. This is one of my favorite high-end foundations. I love it. It's kind of got that watery consistency. It gives a nice natural glow without being too glowy on me. You know, glowy on me with my combination oily skin generally equals a shiny mess. This one does not do that. You know what I find interesting about Estee Lauder? When I get my shade in Estee Lauder in comparison to all other foundations, I am much darker in Estee Lauder. It's kind of weird, you know, because they use that special tool that they use to shade match you, at least at the Estee Lauder counters. And I find that I am in a much darker shade in Estee Lauder than I am in most other brands from foundation. And that goes for double wear. That goes from this Futurist. Yeah, it's super interesting. But you know what? It works for me. So, yeah, just goes to show every formula is different. Every brand is different. So I'm just kind of buffing that in. I mean, obviously everyone has their favorite technique for foundation. I like a brush. I will sometimes use a damp sponge after, but I find that using a sponge, using a brush that has an ability to kind of stamp in is the best way, especially if I'm using a primer. If I'm using a primer, it just, everything goes on so much easier. I do not bring foundation under my eyes. I kind of stop it right here, just because the more stuff I put under my eyes, the more likely with my, 40 and up, my 44-year-old skin, I am gonna end up with crepiness, dryness, cakiness, grossness. So that looks, and that just goes in effortlessly, you know what I mean? And it just gives a natural glow. It's not too shiny. It's just so good, so good. I picked up a replacement. I'm almost out of this one. I picked up a replacement at the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty for half off, which made me very excited. All right, let's move on to a new concealer. Now, full disclosure, I have used this 3 or 4 times. I do like it. I'm interested to see how it wears with this concealer primer because I have not done that. This is the new concealer from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I just did a full-on trying out new concealers video. I will link that video down below. I was trying to find a dupe for the Lancome Magic Couplet that was just discontinued. And I found some really great high-end concealers that I'm using, but of course this one came out literally, I think it was like the week before I shot that video, and there was no way I was gonna be able to test it out appropriately and include it in that video. So I figured I would include it now. I've tried this a few times. I do like it. It is definitely kind of on the watery side. I am always very careful about, I don't use a lot of concealers, just concealer, just 4 dots. And I get some darkness in the corner of my eye, so I make sure I go to that corner of the eye. Now, I use a sponge, or I love these more like angled brushes. I'm gonna use a sponge today. So I'm just gonna go ahead. What I found about this concealer and the few times I've used it, in comparison to some of the other concealers that I have been testing out, especially that new Lancome Teint Idole, is that I find that they're both very blendable. This has also has a watery consistency, kind of very similar to that Teint Idole, in comparison to like the Laura Mercier or like the NARS Creamy, which is a thicker consistency. What is interesting though is that I find the big difference between this one and the Teint Idole is that this one, I can see it easier, so I have to work a little harder to blend it, especially out in this area. I don't mind doing that. It takes an extra second or two, but if I was being very nitpicky about the difference between the two, that's what I would say. I would say this one I can see, so I have to, work a little harder to blend it out in the corners. But it goes on really easily. It's, it's quite pretty. It doesn't easily crease on me, so perfect. Okay. I always set my under eye. I use a very small amount of powder, but I have to. With my oily skin, I have to set my under eye or my concealer is just gonna slide all around. Again, because we're in a Sephora, we're trying out Sephora things, I reached for one of my favorite under eye concealers. This is from Charlotte Tilbury. This is her Airbrush Flawless powder. I've got the little mini here, especially because I love this for under my eyes. I've got shade 1, which is fair. I'm gonna use one of my favorite brushes for this. This is just an e.l.f. blush brush. It just works really well, so I'm just taking a tiny bit. I don't want a lot, and I'm just pressing. And we're done. That's it. That's all we have to do. We don't want to do any more than that. Before I set my actual face, I wanted to try some cream products. So I'll usually set after my cream products. We're going to start with bronzer. Again, I have a newer bronzer, not brand new, but newer. I've talked about this. This is in my top 5 cream bronzer video. This is again from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is her new cream bronzer. This is in the shade Sunkissed. And I talked a lot about this in that cream bronzer top 5 video, where this almost has like a yellow tinge to it. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's not gonna work, but it does. It works absolutely beautifully. I do like using it with a pretty dense stipple brush. I find that that tends to work the best. So I just kind of tap in here and I'm gonna put it, I'm gonna come around. We're making like an E on our face and a backwards E on our face. So I'm gonna go up to my hairline here. Now, the biggest mistake I make with bronzers is I go too far in. Honestly, you should stop about here and go back. But I find that if I'm gonna make a mistake with a bronzer, that's what it's gonna be. But you can see it just blends so easily. It does have this kind of yellowy tinge to it, but it just works. When all is said and done, it just works. So looks really, really nice. All right, on to our next new product. This is another from Milk Makeup. This is their Bionic Liquid Blush. Again, I looked at all these different liquid and cream blushes. I will link that video down below because I ranked all my cream blushes and liquid blushes. And literally this came out like a week later when I was about to shoot the video. And I was like, well, you know, I'll try it out, but I will put it in a get ready with me. The only concern I have about this is that I'm afraid it's gonna be really glowy, and I find that I don't mind glowy, but like shiny, glittery, glowy, that's just not my aesthetic. But I got it in the shade Infinity. This is supposed to be like a mauve-y shade. So we'll see what the consistency is. Oh, okay. So that's the consistency. I have no idea how pigment this is, so I'm gonna kind of be super careful. I'm gonna use my finger, and then I think I'm gonna blend it out with a sponge. It's kind of greasy, I'm not gonna lie. So maybe 3. It's like a gel formula. I wouldn't call it like a liquid. You know, when I think of liquid blushes, I don't think of them like a gel or greasy. And this one is kind of. So let's see what we got. Okay, well, it blends out really nice. It is quite glowy, but it does with a sponge. It blends out quite nice. All right. You know, it's funny. This color is completely different than the swatch. This is not mauve. This is like pink. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love pink, but it's interesting. It's just not what I expected based on the description and the swatch that I saw. I mean, this is pink. It's baby doll pink. This is not mauve. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, quite glowy. Not sure how I feel about that. We'll take it. Now, you know, I was going to use a highlight. I didn't have a new highlight to use. I was just going to use this, the Beauty Light Wand from Charlotte Tilbury, which is such a beautiful highlight. But I'm gonna be frank, I don't think I need a highlight. I'm looking pretty darn glowy. So I think we're gonna hold off on the highlight. Next, we're gonna move on to eyes. This is what I've been so excited for. I picked this up. This is the new Natasha Denona Retro palette. This palette is right up my alley. I love these, you know, beautiful mauves and burgundies, and this just speaks to me. I mean, it's fall, but it's like a different version of fall. So it doesn't have to be, you know, coppers and browns and rusts. It can be this kind of mauve and brick red and that type of thing, and still feel very fall to me. So I'm excited to use this. I love Natasha Denona's formula. I know she got a lot of pushback about this palette because there is a mini retro palette. I do not own it, but it is a kind of pinky and green palette, like a celestial green palette. And when she came out with this, it doesn't look anything like that. You know, there's no greens in here. So it confused a lot of people because a lot of times you'll find her mini versions are inspired by her midi, you know, the $65 this version. There's an inspiration there, and it just seems not congruent. Now, she did on our Instagram talk about the fact that there is apparently a green palette coming, which I think is awesome. And then she also talked about the fact that this was her rendition of retro, not necessarily associated with the mini palette, but just retro, like 70s retro. And that this is supposed to be a companion to her glam palette, which is cool tones, neutrals, and which I love as well. I actually love it a lot more than I expected to love it. So I'm excited to mess around with this. I have not messed around with it with the glam palette, but I'm excited to do that as well. So we're gonna dig into this palette. I've used 1 or 2 shades in here already, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm excited to dig into this palette. I know Natasha's formula is very pigmented. I probably should have done my eyes first. I didn't. So we'll just, you know, we'll go with the flow. I think we're gonna start with a transition shade. I like darker transition shades than most people, but I think we're gonna do 2 transition shades today. I'm gonna start with this one in the corner. This is Vivienne. All right, and then we'll just tapping the excess off my brush. Now I think I'm gonna do one eye, and then I'm gonna do the other one off camera, just so you don't have to see the same thing. So, yep, that's just a beautiful transition shade here. All right, like I said, I like to deepen that transition before I work on my outer V. So I think I'm gonna reach for this, I think I'm gonna reach for this shade called Patty right here. And we're just gonna deepen up that transition a tiny bit in that crease, you know, within the crease itself. Now, not everyone likes to do this. You know, some people don't like to have such a deep crease color, but that's how I roll, so. And I'm staying in my crease, but I'm coming up a little bit. I'm staying clear of the brow bone itself, but I do like to come up pretty high just because as I get older, I have less lid space because my eye gets more hooded. I wanna make sure I use as much of the lid space as I can because that is precious real estate. All right, next I am gonna use my favorite brush. This is from Sigma. This is their E70. If you don't have this brush, I highly recommend it. It's an angled shader. It just works so good to stamp color into that outer V on an angle. Now, I don't use this to blend, but I use it to stamp in color and then blend it out. I just, absolutely love this. We're gonna reach for a darker outer V color. I think we'll reach for this Amara. I think that's dark enough. I'm going back and forth between these two. You know what? I lied to you. I'm gonna reach for this shade Rebellion. I think we're gonna go dark today. All right, so we're gonna stamp this. So I'm gonna create kind of an angle and just stamp this on the lid. All right. So you can see I can kind of put it right exactly where I want it. And then I'm just gonna grab a blending brush and I'm gonna blend it in because I have a tendency to blend out too far. Makes my eyes look more downturned, so I'm gonna blend in as much as I can. Again, I'm using it as much real estate as I can. Now, some people will put, you know, tape here or something like that. I ain't got time for that. But it's not unreasonable if you're worried about. And then I'm just gonna blend all before I work on my actual lid color. Okay, so I like a little sparkle on my lid. Some people like to be pure matte, whatever you want to do. I think I'm gonna reach for this shade Helio, because I find this is a little peachy pink, or little pink. This is called Glitz. I think we're gonna do Helio. All right. Now, Natasha commonly uses her fingers, put her shimmer shades on. I don't always do that. And the reason is because I have very fat fingers. So I will commonly press them on with a brush. I will sometimes use my fingers, but I'm just never as happy with the result. You can actually wet your brush as well. I really like that. Well, I'm not getting that much fallout, which is good because like I said, I did not do my eyes first, which, you know, is probably what I should do, but I didn't. And then we're just gonna blend everything together. All right then. Okay. Now, I think I need something light on my brow bone just to kind of break this up a little bit. So I am gonna grab a pencil brush. I think I'm gonna go in just with this Mod shade at the top. And we're gonna stick that right on my brow bone. And then, just to break it up a little bit. Yeah. And then I'm gonna stick that right in my inner corner. All right. Finally, I like to use eyeshadow on my lower lid versus using eyeliner. I could use a liner. I'm not gonna do that today. That's just not how I'm feeling today. But I think we're gonna go back in with that Patty shade, and I think that's what I'm gonna use as an eyeliner on my lower lash line. So I just grabbed a smudge brush here. So I'm gonna grab that shade Patty and swipe it across my lower lash line. I don't go all the way in. All right, I like that. All right, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna do my other eye. I'm also gonna do my eyebrows, and I'm going to curl my eyelashes because no one needs to see that on camera. And then we're gonna grab a new mascara that I picked up, and also we're gonna finish with lips. All right, so I'm back. I did my brows. Again, I didn't have a new brow product. I chose one of my favorite ones from Sephora. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Brows. I love this because of how little, look at this brush. It is so little. Look how little that is. It's amazing. I just find I have so much control. I don't get too much on the brush. It doesn't mess everything up. I hate that I love this because I would rather spend drugstore prices on a brow pencil or a brow gel, but this is good. This is really good. I did that. I curled my eyelashes. So we're ready to go. I did forget to set my face though. So I'm going to set, again, I don't have a new product here. This is just a, you know, an oldie, but a goodie. This is the Laura Mercier translucent powder. It's just a really good one. So we're going to go ahead now that I've got all my cream products on, and we're going to set my face, especially my T-zone, because if I don't, then even with my primer on, even with everything else, my concern is that my makeup will not stay on as long. I find, man, with this combination oily skin, I gotta do everything I can to keep my makeup on. All right, I wanted to focus on a new mascara. I have not used this yet. This is the new one from Rare Beauty. I did get a mini of it. I've heard really good things about this. I'm very excited to try it. It's got a very big kind of, I almost called it an hourglass, but it's just kind of a straight stick wand. So we'll see. I am terrible at putting mascara on. I commonly get it on myself. So I am trying to be as clean as I possibly can. So I'm going to lift a little to kind of make things easier. And see, I already got some on me. That's okay. Just a tiny bit. Just wait for it to dry. And that's what I mean about these really fat wands. I always worry that I'm gonna, you know, just get it everywhere. I do not commonly put mascara on my lower lids. Ooh, this is nice. This is nice. It's not clumping on me. It's not trying to be anything it's not. I am not looking for like a crazy, crazy volume. You know, I am looking for some length, some volume, but it doesn't have to be insane. I like this a lot. This pulls every lash. Like I said, some mascaras, you know, you use some mascaras and you put 5 swipes in and you have 1 lash because it clumps so badly. And I am not seeing that here. Okay. I don't hate this. Okay. It's giving me quite a bit of volume. So I really like that. I really, really like that. Okay, all right, I'm kind of liking it. Cool. So we'll see how it wears. What I care about is, does it smudge, flake, do all of that? And does it make my eyes itch? I've had a few mascaras that just dry out my lashes, make my eyes itch, drive me crazy. So I am looking for something that gives me, again, some length, some volume, not crazy out of the park, and doesn't flake or smudge, you know, small asks at the end of the day. Last but not least, I wanted to focus on lips. I wanted to do a fall look. I tend to reach for darker lipstick in the fall, and Charlotte Tilbury has just come out with these super nudes in her Matte Revolution line, and I love her Matte Revolution line. If you've never tried it, I highly recommend it. Reason I like this is I love the look of matte, but I hate the feel of matte lipstick, and her matte lipstick is just really creamy. It is not crazy dry, and it doesn't show every dry area on my lips, which I love. So I was looking at these different super nudes and my brain was like, oh, I should totally reach for the lighter ones. And then I saw this shade called Super Fabulous, and it absolutely reminds me of some of the really dark lipsticks that I reached for in the 90s when I was in my early 20s. And sadly, I feel like I made a mistake. I did not pick up her lip liner. She pairs this with the Pillow Talk medium lip liner. I have the original Pillow Talk lip liner, but I don't have that one. And the reason is because I just had picked up, now this isn't Sephora, but I had just picked up an oldie but goodie that I loved in the past. This is the MAC lip liner in the shade Whirl. And I was feeling nostalgic. So I was like, wow, I'll pick this up. And then I picked up this lipstick and I was like, oh, it'll work. We'll see. I might be regretting my life choices. We'll have to see. We're going to use Whirl. Now, what I remember about MAC lip liners is they're very dry. They're very much like pencils. So let me see if I'm right, if I remember right. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a pencil. And I'm not in any way implying that's bad. I'm just saying that it can be a little drier if you're used to like gel liners. All right, it looks nice. I'm happy with that. Let's see if it works with this lipstick. Let's see if I made a mistake or if I did okay with it. Oh, look at that. Look, I'm gonna swatch it. Look at that, it's so pretty. Oh, I love this formula. All right. Oh, this makes me so happy. This might be dark for some people. It's definitely not dark for me, especially in the fall. Now I'm gonna just set my makeup here. I'm just using the All Nighter setting spray from Urban Decay. I also love the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. Love that. So, all right. I'm gonna take my hair down. Try not to rip it all out when I see how many dents I've created. So you tell me. That's the look. Just wanted to go for a nice fall look, and this is what I've come up with. I hope you like it. Some of my beginning thoughts on these products are, let's start with this. I I mean, I'm gonna have to see how it wears through the day. However, I am already noticing a huge difference. I don't know if you guys can see it between this side and this side. This is, I can see more fine lines here. I'm more crepey. I'm creasing a little bit. It's drying me out. So as much as I like the idea of a concealer primer, this is not working for me. Maybe if you have younger skin, maybe it'll work, but not with my 44-year-old skin. Nope. So we'll have to see how it does on my eyes and see if it's worth it. Like I said, my favorite eyeshadow primer besides the Urban Decay is the Milani, which is really inexpensive. So we'll see. We'll see how I feel about this. Other new products, the concealer. Like I said, I had tried it a few times. I do really like it. It just takes a little bit more work than some of the new, you know, the Tint Idole or the Laura Mercier or the Pat McGrath that I had tried, but I do really like it. This is a good everyday concealer. You know I love the foundation. You know I love the face primer. And you know I love this. This is, yeah, it's gorgeous. I love this. The jury's still out on this. I was expecting a different shade than I got. So I wasn't thinking if it was gonna be a really pink shade, so it's weird. I don't like the consistency. It's like this gel grease consistency, which I'm not crazy about, but it does blend out really, really nice. I'm just trying to decide do I want something this glittery, you know, this glowy. If you're looking for a glowy liquid blush, this is a great one, but we'll see how it wears at the end of the day. Finally, we've got the Rare Beauty. I like how it looks, so we'll see, you know, if it angers me throughout the day, like if it gets itchy or smudges or flakes. But I liked it going on. This is really nice. And then, you know, Charlotte Tilbury, I mean, her lipsticks are sublime. I mean, that's the reality. I love this shade. It's not right for everyone, but I love it. And it went on so nice. It feels so good, even though it's matte. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I would love to hear your comments below. Have you tried any of this new makeup from Sephora? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think I'm crazy? And then I hope you like this video and subscribe to my channel, and you can join our family here on YouTube. Have a great fall day. Bye, you guys.